We've been trying to put out, our decision tools and information resources to help with that. But it is, I think, kind of back to being a more relevant decision than it has been in the last few years. So we've got lower prices expected for 2024 for the main commodities here in Illinois. Um, and much, still historically high prices, but lower than what we had the last couple years. And the real challenge is that we've got the production costs that adjusted up to the last few years' levels with those lower prices. So that's creating a pretty tight margin environment, some negative return projections for the year. And it increases the likelihood that you might see a payment from an ARC County or a PLC program, and it makes your insurance decisions that much more important.
It seems like the information that farmers have indicated in the past, they say, I'm just going to check ARC and let it go because I can't figure out all of what I should be estimating.
Yeah, and I think that's not a bad plan of attack, especially for corn base acres and wheat base acres. Our estimates right now, based on where we think prices are at and where the guarantees are, the protection levels are for the ARC County program, compared with PLC, suggests that ARC County payments are more likely for corn and wheat than PLC, and they're going to be bigger if they occur than they would be with PLC. Again, based on what we've looked at. Soybeans, it kind of remains a toss-up, even with the lower soybean price expected for 2024. It's still kind of sufficiently above the PLC reference price, and even the ARC levels that would trigger payments for that program. So lower likelihood of payments for both programs is for soybeans, and really more of a toss-up on that one.
All right. In crop insurance, there's a lot of people probably will be looking for making sure that they've got a crop insurance program. Revenue programs are going to be there, but it's still going to take a lower price really to have any claim based on where we are right now, at least where the economics look. It's going to be for either an 80% or an 85%. That corn price is going to, or both prices are going to have to drop down quite a bit before anything's going to happen with an average yield.
Yeah, and the one kind of additional challenge that comes with the lower prices we're expecting for 2024 is, on the one hand, that does reduce the premium cost that you'll see for the same kind of policy you may have bought the last few years. But the downside is that the guarantee that comes with that is going to be much lower as well. And with the higher costs and the lower insurance guarantees, we're seeing farmers kind of lacking the ability to lock in as much of those production costs as we've seen the last couple of years at higher price levels. And so the insurance choice is going to be kind of more critical, I think, this year than we've seen the last few years. And then the one thing that can kind of get complicated across the two choices is at least one of the insurance programs, you do have to think about that Farm Bill program choice if you want to use it. That's the supplemental coverage option, which I think in this kind of tighter margin environment might be of greater interest to producers. You got to make sure that the acres that you use that SCO program on, if you're interested in that, are enrolled in PLC. So that kind of, again, links the two decisions to some extent.
Are farmers going to make money this year, or do they have enough in the bank to get by with meeting costs? It's really a tough environment.
Yeah. So again, the averages that we look at, based on where production costs have climbed the last couple of years and where prices have fallen to, on average, we're looking at negative return projections for pretty much every region in Illinois for corn, soybeans, and wheat. Now, there will be farms that have lower costs than those averages, and there will be farms that achieve higher prices than those projections that we're looking at. But it does raise some concerns. There can always be, poor weather hopefully in other parts of the country, other parts of the world that can create some price rallies and some pricing opportunities during the growing season. But again, as of right now, if things play out like we're expecting, it does look like some negative returns, and definitely much lower overall farm income numbers expected this year than we've had the last couple years. But that context is also key. So you asked, are we in a good position? We see a lot of parallels to kind of the financial position that farmers had gotten themselves into with some of the excellent income years in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And then we moved into that lower price period from 2014 to 2019. We've seen kind of the same thing play out, and we're kind of back in a very good financial position. So I think we can weather a bad 1 year storm. Looking ahead to 2025, we'll see if things continue though.